Dr. Fiore, thank you for coming and talking with us today. If you want to start by just kind of introducing yourself and what you do in the Awesome department.
Hi, I'm Anne-Marie Fiore, and I'm the Director of Graduate Education in the Department of Apparel, Events, and Hospitality Management. And my area is really apparel merchandising and design. And so what I do is I really do anything related to the graduate program. So you say, what's the graduate program? Well, when I was a high school student, I didn't know that people actually went to college, and then after getting that bachelor's degree, they actually went on for more education, and that's considered that graduate degree. So after you graduate with your bachelor's degree, you can go on for more education in terms of a master's or a PhD. And so what I do is really focus on those students who work on their master's and PhD program.
Awesome. Okay. So what is your background and how did you become a professor?
I'm originally from New Jersey, and I went to Rutgers University, and my area was clothing, textiles, and design. So really more design focused, but I was really interested in psychology of fashion. So I worked for a while in the industry, actually stuffed animals, making stuffed animals, high-end stuffed animals. I was a production supervisor. And it was fun, but it just really wasn't me. I really missed learning new things. I really felt like I wasn't doing a lot of that in my position. So I decided to go back for a master's degree at the University of Minnesota. And I've been out in the Midwest ever since. So I've got my master's and PhD from the University of Minnesota, where I focused more on social psychological aspects of dress. But then I moved into my research that's really looking more at consumer behavior, marketing, and branding.
That's honestly really interesting. I never thought about that in like the apparel industry, so that is very interesting. Um, so how has COVID affected like your working and your teaching style and like how have you adapted to all of that?
Well, the thing is, we have what we call a hybrid program. So we have graduate students that were already at home and then zooming into our classes here with our on-campus students. So for me, it really hasn't changed much. The only difference is I'm sitting at home in my office rather than in the classroom. But we always had students sort of zooming into our lectures or our seminars. So it really hasn't changed that much.
Well, that's good. An easy transition for you then.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, your area of like specialization is in teaching and research in consumer experiences and aesthetics. So why is it important for students to learn about consumer experiences and aesthetics?
Okay. Well, first people need to know like what aesthetics is. And so when I talk about aesthetics, I say it's the form, expression, and meaning related to the elements and principles of design. So you probably have heard of the elements and principles of design before. So if you think about colors, textures, line shapes, proportion, balance, rhythm, those are the elements and principles of design. So those what we talk about as the form, things that we can feel or see. But when you also think about these elements, say color, there's also an expressiveness to it and there's a meaning to it. So what we do when we talk about aesthetics is trying to understand the form, what we like or dislike, expression in terms of is it calming or is it stimulating, and the meanings, like what are the associations connected to particular, say, colors or lines or shapes. And then how do we use that in order to build environments for that brand? And so when we think about branding, we're trying to say that we're trying to get a message across about what that brand stands for. And so we can use these elements or these aesthetics to really build that brand image.
Okay, interesting. I think it's important that a lot of kids coming in don't understand that too. But coming from a big school, that's something that I understood and I had the opportunity to take classes. So yeah, it's definitely important that people don't realize at the beginning. But
Yeah.
how would you explain marketing to a young college student?
Okay. When you think about marketing, you might think about it selling. So it's how do I sell something to somebody? That's a simple way of looking at it, but it's much broader than that. And really what it's talking about is how do we build value for a customer? So you think about, well, what's value? Well, you think about value, you might say, that sounds like something that's less expensive. That might be a way of thinking about value, something that's economical. So I can get the same product for less money. So that's one kind of value. But there's a lot of different kinds of value that customers are looking for now more than just cost. So if you think about convenience, why do we shop online, right? It's because it's convenient. We can save some money perhaps, but yeah, it's also very convenient. So that's also a way of building value. So marketers say, well, how should we get that product out to our customers? But even more important, we have to move away from these thinking about this customer as being very logical. I'm only concerned about money and saving time. What they're really trying to do is find products and experiences that really relate to them, that fit into who they think they are and fit into their lifestyle. So we talk about also building this idea of psychological and social value. So if you think about your connections with a lot of brands, many times it's connections because those social connections you have with people that like that brand as well. So how do you build those things for the customers, or your connections with people that work for that company or that brand itself? So again, that's those social connections that you're looking for. And then how do you build that particular image of that brand for the customers so that it relates to their lifestyle? And so I have an example of North Face that I'm not sure if you guys know what pop-up is, but pop-up, like a pop-up shop, is a shop that opens up for a very short period of time and closes down. And you might think, well, the reason for doing that is to sell products, but not necessarily. Many times what it's trying to do is reinforce that brand image or what the brand thinks it stands for. And so I don't know if I could share with
Yeah,
you.
we can try to, you should be able to like share your screen. If it doesn't, let me know.
Okay, let's see if I can, oh, no. You've just disabled it.
Let's see.
That share screen on the bottom, could you go up to multiple?
Yep, try it now. Did that work?
Let's see. Yep. Let's see
okay, perfect.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, are you seeing something that has
Yep.
this on it? Okay. So when you think about North Face, you all know what North Face is, and think about what they stand for. This really rugged outdoor brand. You're trying to be more adventurous. That's sort of the image of the brand. And so what you're trying to do is figure out how to connect to that customer, right? And so one of the things that they did, this idea that we're a brand that really likes outdoors and climbing and active sports. Well, this pop-up shop is actually on the top of a very high mountain in Italy. And so in order to get there, you need to be able to climb to get there. And usually you're wearing their products to do that. And inside the store, what they have is actually products that are going to be auctioned off that were worn by these famous climbers. So the kinds of gear that they used, they used it, that they now have this tag in them that says this was used by this particular climber to climb Mount Everest or whatever. And now these things are being auctioned off. And so what you're doing is you're really encouraging that customer to be connected to that brand because they've got to climb to get there. So really building that sort of sense of adventure that North Face stands for. And then you have that connection with the brand because you can actually own something that someone who's really famous that has used these North Face products owned and used. And so it's building those connections to that brand. So it's a lot more than just trying to sell something that's economical or convenient. It's really building that relationship with the customer and the brand.
It's actually really cool. I did not know about that, and that's so interesting. I always think pop-up shops are very interesting. I've like gone to a few. I'm from like the suburbs of Chicago, so they're always like around there. But that one's really cool.
Yeah, it is. It really is kind of an interesting idea that you have to climb all the way up there to get
yeah.
Yeah. Only for the non-faint of heart. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so how can we influence consumer behavior by like using tools of marketing? And can you give us like an easy example?
Well, I just, thinking about the pop-up example that I showed you. Now, this isn't an easy example, but it's a good example. So if I can share my screen one more time, I'm going to see if I could open up and find a particular video that I'd like to show. Let's see if I can get to it. So now, again, we're looking at North Face, and think about what the brand stands for, outdoor, adventure, this idea of like pushing your limits and that sort of thing. So I want you to notice what's going on inside in the environment, like how they're reinforcing that connection to the outdoors, but also think about what they're doing in terms of building that brand image for the customer. Now, this is a short, it's only like 2 minutes, but it's kind of fun. So let's see if I could.
저희가 이번에 시즌2로 나가지고 준비해왔어요.
Okay, so if you think about it, that's one way that we can really affect the customer by building pop-up experiences that are something fun and unusual. Think about the connections that that particular customer has with that brand now and what they're going to do for the brand itself. So what they're going to do is they're going to tell all their friends, they're going to have a video of this, they're going to share it. And so this is one way that you can really sort of build and affect that customer by building those really unique, intense experiences with them. And it could be something as elaborate as this, but it can be any pop-up shop. And so I think you're going to see more pop-up shops opening up after COVID because people are sort of starved for experiences. They really want that connection to people, that connections to products, the connections to places again.
And then going off of that, in what ways has COVID affected the consumer behavior in the apparel industry?
Well, you've seen that a lot of people really have had to shop online. And so they've done a lot of that, but I think they're really tired of that. I think some products you're going to continue to do. It's going to be convenient to have, certain things dropped off, but we really want to go out there and feel products again, shop with our friends. It's a social element. We want to connect with brand representatives and the brand itself. So I think what you're going to see is this, we're going to have continual use of people dropping off things at our door, but we're really going to go back and really look for experiences again. And so pop-up events and other kinds of experiential marketing is going to be really important for brands.
And then what do you research on as it relates to fashion marketing, consumer experiences, and the consumer behavior?
Well, one of the things I do is look at experiential marketing and pop-up. Right now, we're also looking at understanding how influencers impact consumer decisions. And so we think about influencers. Everyone knows what an influencer is. Someone that someone that's on Instagram or something that gives you advice on what to buy or what they're really into. And so what impact does that have on consumers? And so we're looking at that, and particularly for small retailers, how can they use influencers to their advantage? Because yeah, it's great if you're a very big brand and you could, find one of the Kardashians to support your product. But if you're a small retail, what do you go about doing?
And then if you could teach or do research on any topic right now, what would it be? And what are you curious about?
I'm really interested in the whole idea of consumption and happiness. So what can we do in terms of what we purchase to increase our happiness? And there's a body of literature out there already that says that it's not buying stuff. We think, oh, if we just had that newer car or that particular pair of shoes or something, we'd be so much happier. But what research finds is that it's not those products. What it is buying experiences. And so thinking about, okay, I'm going to spend less money on buying stuff, right? I'm going to buy better quality things that I can keep for a longer period of time rather than having 150 pairs of shoes. I'm going to have 3 pairs of shoes that I really love. But then also buying experiences, dining out, going tourist experiences, things like that, pop-up, anything that really gives you an experience, something that you can talk about and is connected to a product, I think is going to be a lot more important. So looking at consumption and other ways that we can really enhance happiness in our life, I think that's, where I really like my research to go.
And what are your best tips for students to be successful in college and in the AMD program at Iowa State?
There's so many options for you to do. There's so many clubs. There's so many different events to be involved with. Try everything. See what you like. It's okay if you try some things and you don't like it, or if you say, you know what, I wasn't very good at that. It's okay, because you don't know until you really try. I mean, there's many experiences that I wish I did, but I was afraid to do when I was in college. So I'd say take advantage of it, stay active, physically active, get involved with some sort of sport, be it fencing, canoeing, or whatever else it is, because I think that's really good for that mind-body balance. So just take advantage of all the experiences that Iowa State has to offer.
And as the director of graduation education for the Awesome Department, what advice would you give to students exploring graduate school as they finish their bachelor's degree?
Well, what I would say, Maggie, is actually think a little bit earlier, because we have a concurrent degree. And what that is that you can combine your bachelor's degree with a master's degree in 5 years. So it shortens the time that it would take to get that master's degree, but you can work those master's courses into your junior and senior year when you're an undergrad student. So it really does help in terms of speeding things up. And what you're finding is that a lot more people have master's degrees now. And so it really is a way of differentiating yourself. I'd still say, sure, you need to still do those internships and things like that, but also having that master's degree gives you a difference, sets you apart, differentiates you. So if you're really interested in graduate school one day, start early and talk to your advisor when you're a sophomore and say, I'm really interested in this program. What courses should I take so I'm ready for that?
And then lastly, we heard that your life is full of enjoying experiences. And when it's fairly safe to travel again, where will you travel to on your first vacation?
Oh, I don't know. There's so many places I want to go, but I have a friend that moved out to North Carolina, and she's always sending pictures about how much warmer and sunnier and how many flowers are blooming there. So I come there, and I really, because I'm from the East Coast and we always spend the summer in the shore, down the shore, I'd want to go to the shore. So I think that's my next first trip. Yep.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking time with us today and giving us a good inside look into all the graduate programs and everything that you have to share.
Well, thanks, Meg. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.